Hey everybody, welcome back to Storytime, and welcome back to my pond. This is a really special place where we get to watch the frogs have eggs, and then those eggs we get to watch the baby tadpoles hatch out, and then those tadpoles grow, and what do they become? Eventually, frogs. That's right. So today I thought I'd read you a story about tadpoles. That's a great springtime story. It's by Betsy James, and it's a scholastic book. Tadpoles. For Mimi, the frog lady. Of course, that's a dedication page. Last fall, I got a little brother. All he could do was yell and smell and drool. Ma carried him everywhere. I had to walk. One afternoon in spring, we walked to the pond. "Carry me," I said. But Ma said, "Sweetie, I have to carry Davey." See those frogs jumping in the pond? And when we sat down, Davey got to sit in her lap. If we held very still, frogs began to sing. I waded to a rock and looked in the water. Something shiny floated in the weeds. "Look," I called. "Little balls of jelly." "Those are eggs," said Ma. "A mother frog laid them." Do you remember seeing the video of the little jelly eggs from our pond? "They've got dots inside," I said. "Those dots will grow legs and turn into frogs," said Ma. "All animals look like dots when they're just beginning to grow. People do too." "Was I a dot?" I asked. "Yes, when you were inside me. Then you grew legs and arms and turned into a baby and got born." "Was Davey a dot?" I asked. "He was. The legs he grew don't work yet," I said. "Wait and see," said Ma. "He'll learn to walk." But I said, "I'd rather have a frog than a brother." Ma smiled. "Scoop up a few eggs then," she said. "We'll take them home in a plastic bag and watch how they grow. But Molly, when they've turned into frogs, we'll have to bring them back to the pond, okay?" "Okay," I promised. When we walked back home, Ma carried Davey, and I carried some eggs floating in pond water. I put them in my old fish bowl and watched them, but they didn't turn into frogs. They didn't do anything. After a week, I lifted Davey up to see. "That's what you used to be," I told him, "a dot." I looked again. "Hey," I shouted, "my dots are growing tails." Little squiggly tails. Ma came to look. "A frog's egg has to turn into a tadpole first," she said. "That's a baby frog. The way Davey has to be a baby first and then a boy." Inside the jelly, my tadpoles wiggled. Soon they wiggled themselves right out into the water. The jelly fell apart and the tadpoles swam around. Ma said, "Their frilly gills are to breathe with under the water, like fish." Every day I lifted Davey up to see. I had to catch him first because he was learning to crawl. "It's nice of you to show Davey your tadpoles," said Ma. I said, "I'm teaching him to be a boy instead of a baby." I brought my tadpoles fresh water and plants from the pond. They nibbled the green fuzzy algae that grew on the plants. They got bigger, their gills disappeared, and they came up to breathe the air. 2 stumpy lumps grew next to their tails. "That's where their legs will be," said Dad. On the 4th of July, we went camping all weekend. When we got home, my tadpoles had grown tiny back legs. They kicked just like Davey. All summer, my tadpoles swam and swam. Davey crawled and crawled. My tadpoles ate lettuce and even meat if I hung it in the water on a string. Davey ate a fig Newton and rubbed them in my hair. "Tad," he said, and tried to crawl up on my table. I caught him. "My tadpoles," I said. "Pretty soon they'll grow front legs and they'll learn to jump. When they can jump, they'll be frogs," said Ma. "Then we'll take them back to their pond." "Not yet," I said. "They're still babies." But next morning, when I lifted Davey up, I saw my tadpoles were growing front legs. Look at that. Now they have 2 sets of legs. That makes 4. 2 plus 2 makes 4. Summer was almost over. Davey could stand up. He could walk, but only if he held onto my fingers. He wanted to practice walking all the time. My tadpoles' tails disappeared. I put a rock in their bowl, and as their legs got stronger, they learned to crawl up onto it. They look like frogs now, I told Davey one morning, but they still can't jump. Up, said Davey. He pointed. One little frog jumped right out of the fish bowl. Jump. Gently, Ma caught it. She covered the bowl with a cloth. All grown up, she said. No, I said. They're ready to be big frogs, said Ma. I don't care. I know you don't want to take them back, Molly, said Ma. Let's enjoy them today, and then tomorrow we can walk to the pond. Walk, said Davey, and pulled on my fingers. Grow up, I said. Walk by yourself. I pulled my fingers away. He sat down on his bottom and cried. That night, Ma sat with me and patted my back. You love your froggies a lot, she said, but would a big frog be happy in a tiny fish bowl? We could get a great big fish bowl, I said. It wouldn't have trees and birds and dragonflies like their real home, said Ma. They need room to jump and lay more eggs, so there will be frogs next summer. But they're mine, I said. Are they? Said Ma. Or do they belong to themselves? She was sad that she had to take them back to the pond. But guess what? Find out. Next morning, we took the path to the pond. Ma carried Davey. I carried my frogs so carefully in a plastic bowl with a towel over it so they couldn't jump out. Ma put Davey down and held his hand. I stood on the rock with my bowl of frogs and cried. Molly, said Ma, it's time to let them go. I said, I don't want to. Hear the birds? I hear scarlet tanager. Spring is when the birds come back. Davey let go of Ma's hand. Molly, walk, he said. He held out his arms to me. All by himself, he wobbled down the shore, splashed through the water, and crashed into my legs. The bowl flew into the air. All together, Davey and the frogs and I went sploosh. You see all the frogs jumping? They're so happy to be back home. Ma splashed into the pond and grabbed us both. Davey howled. I yelled. He made me drop my frogs. I know, said Ma. She held me tight. But look how well you taught him. He walked all by himself straight to you. Davey stopped howling. The pond was quiet. My frogs aren't singing, I said. Not till spring, said Ma. Will I hear them then? For sure. We started home. Carry me, I said. Davey can walk now. Could you take turns, said Ma? And that's what we did. The end. This shows you all the stages of a frog, which you've been learning about. Egg, 12 days, 4 weeks, 9 weeks, 12 weeks, 14 weeks, 16 weeks. It's jumping frog from a tadpole egg. And then it'll be this frog's turn to have eggs the following spring, and it'll happen all over again. I hope you enjoyed the story about the tadpoles and even baby Davey, the mammal who learned to walk and change. It's just kind of like the tadpoles, the amphibians that grow and change. All animals grow. Thanks for coming to Storytime at the pond. I hope I'll see you next time. Bye.